To Mayor Flaherty.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Matt. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, elected members. Welcome, staff, and welcome, the gallery. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the Barngarla people, the traditional owners of the land we meet on today, and their continuing connection to the land, sea, culture, and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and we extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people within our community. The City of Port Lincoln acknowledges and respects the diversity of cultural heritage and beliefs within our community. As a council, we are committed to serving the best interests and needs of all people in our city, and we endeavour to discharge our duties conscientiously to the best of our ability. Thank you very much. Please be seated. For the record, item number 1 for those present, we have Councillor Broadfoot, Councillor Rousseau, Councillor Lynn, Councillor Jolly, Councillor Davis, Deputy Mayor Ritchie, Councillor Davies, Councillor Staunton, and Councillor Dodd. There are no apologies. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest tonight? None? I'll declare. Item 4 is the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting of the ordinary council meeting held on Monday, the 17th of May. Is there any clarifying questions at all for that? Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Dodd, do you want to speak on it? Can I have a second? Councillor Staunton, do you want to speak on it? Any discussions for or against? No? All those in favour? Motion carried. Item 4.2 is the confirmation of the minutes of the previous special council meeting held on Tuesday the 15th of June. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Broadfoot. Second, Councillor Rousseau. Questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
This is the verbal submissions.
It's on the 15th of June. Which one was that?
It was a verbal submissions for the annual business plan and budget.
Yeah, the questions asked at the special meeting, will they be at all answered from the people that asked them? And if so, will it be in an email format and would we get a copy?
I'll allow the question. It's not actually relevant to accepting the minutes, but I'll allow the question.
If that's the prerogative of council, we can provide a response to those questions that were raised. I think from recollection, a lot of the questions were rhetorical questions posed to elected members on their own decision-making factors when they make decisions of council. So it's not for the administration to answer those on behalf of council. And I think a lot of the questions that were asked can be clarified and will be clarified in the reports that were provided on the 28th of June when the annual business plan and budget are adopted. But we also don't have a written copy of those questions. So now I'm not sure. We did offer through that process to those who provided verbal submissions, if they provided a transcript of that, that would be considered a written submission in accordance with that process as well. But I'm not sure if we received written copies of that.
Okay, thanks. Can I have a mover for item 4.2, which is the special meeting held on the 15th of June?
Seconded.
So we've got Councillor Broadfoot and Councillor Rousseau.
Okay, sorry. Yep, okay, all those in
Make
favour?
a quick comment there, Brad. Just thank you for the recording, because obviously I couldn't make the meeting, but it was good to I able to watch back and listen to the deputation. So it was very valuable.
No worries, thank you. All those in favour? Motion carried. Item 4.3 is the confirmation of the minutes of the previous special council meeting held on Wednesday the 16th of June. Is there any discussion, questions, clarifications concerning that? Can I have a mover for the Councillor Staunton? Can I have a second, please? Councillor Lynn, either of you want to speak on it at all? No? Any speaks for or against? All those in favour? Motion carried. Item 5 is adjourned items. There are none. Item 6, questions with and without notice. There are none. Item 7, notice of motion, nil. Item 8, petitions. Item 8.1, a petition was received, heritage listing of the Flinders Theatre and Baptist Church.
Error. Lincoln Cove East of that.
Oh, that's an error, that one, is it? So,
It was corrected. It was stated.
The printed copy you and I have got the right title in it. So the petition is for the Lincoln Cove East development. And Mayor Brad, I've got a copy of the petition here that was presented to council. So the recommendation, noting that there is an agenda item specifically relating to this petition at 14.2.2, which is fee to receive the petition at this point. Yep, okay.
Yep, apologise for the error. And the thing is that you can all see what's behind and I can't. So. Okay, so that'll be dealt in, was it item 4, was it? Yeah. So we move on, item 9, deputations and representations. There are none. Item 10, elected members' reports. My activity report, did we get to send that out at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any questions concerning that at all? No? Okay. 10.2 is the Deputy Mayor's report. Jack, do you want to comment on that at all?
Nothing right.
Okay, any questions for Jack? Okay, 10.3 is Council's report. Councillor Broadfoot, anything else to add? Anyone have questions? I won't ask questions every time. If you've got questions, please put your hand up. 10.3.2 is Councillor Rousell. Anything with that, Ron? No, Councillor Lynn?
No.
Councillor Jolly?
Only the normal council special meetings and the audit committee.
Thank you. Councillor Davis?
Just 2 items, the rest I don't need reported because they're committee and meetings, and that is, it was, sorry, bear with me. It was I opened on behalf of council Finding Home. It was an exhibition that was put together through a research paper in relation to rural Australia and young people leaving and coming back to their communities and what community means to them. So if my fellow elected members and any of the gallery are interested, it's certainly our photographic exhibition. We had a number of people that participated locally. I've been a part of this research project for 2 years. The feedback sheets down in the actual Nautilus Arts Centre are really important to the 3rd stage of the research. So if we could get some of your elected members in there and also encourage the community to go in there. It's open until the 7th of July. And the other thing was the euphoria in the Nautilus Arts Centre. I'll just make a comment in relation to the Nautilus Arts Centre. The community are certainly looking and enjoying the engagement that's currently in place. I think COVID was a big year and it certainly affected people. So yeah, it's good. Quite good.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Davies. Councillor Staunton.
Just that I did my Chamber of Commerce committee meeting and the special council meeting 6th of June.
Councillor Dodd.
Council meeting, special.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks to Amanda for getting that out too. Item 11 is Council Committee reports and minutes. Item 11.1 is a special air mention of the Local Government Association Board meeting held on Thursday the 27th of May. I won't go into detail on that too much. It was really basically just to do an audit point. It's for information, but it has to be tabled here so that we're aware. Is there any questions at all regarding that? No. I'll take a mover for the recommendation then, please. Councillor Davis, do you want to speak on it? No. Second, Councillor Broadfoot, do you like to speak on it? Speakers for or against? No, all those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 12 is the Chief Executive Officer reports, resolution status report. Over to you, Matt. Do you want to comment on all
Can
that?
I just, excuse me, we've done the first recommendation, that's the minutes were passed, and then there's a second recommendation about supporting the application of being exempted from
Oh,
the
do
audit
apologies,
committee.
yeah.
Yeah, so if we can't
Good
move
point,
through
good
that,
point.
thank you.
So we'll step back to item 11. Thanks. There is a second recommendation there, which is just the detail there. So Basically, that council supports the application of the EPLGA being exempt from having an audit committee based on the following points. Can I have a mover for that then, please? Councillor Broadfoot, can I have a second? Councillor Dodd. Any discussion for or against? All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks for catching. 112 is resolution status report 12.1. Over to you, Matt. Do you want to talk on that at all?
Thanks, Mayor Brad. So just after the feedback from last time at the council meeting, some confusion around the titles on the columns. In review of that this time, we thought the simplest way to reduce that was to actually produce a summary table out of the actual agenda, so that you were just looking at one table, which is the full table, which is the attachments. And all the commentary and all the timelines have been updated in that commentary. So happy to take any questions on any of those remaining or outstanding actions.
No questions, clarification? Have a mover then, please.
I'm happy to move it and just speak to it. Yeah, just to comment on the new format for the reports, which I think is really clear and succinct and guides us well. So yeah, thank you for that. It was nice to see those shifts in the agenda, and also JP's reports when they come up, we can complement in there. I'm happy to move it.
Okay, thanks. Can I have a second? Councillor Davies, do you want to speak on it?
Yeah, I thought it was quite clear.
Okay, no problems. Any speakers for or against? None. All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 12.2 is the CEO annual leave appointment and acting CEO appointment. Matt, you want to talk on that at all?
Mayor Brad, it's pretty straightforward in the report there. The CEO has the ability to appoint an acting CEO in his absence, or his or her absence, in this case his absence, but it's also a requirement to consult with council. So this report's really to fulfil the requirements to consult with council, and if council's got any concerns to endorse the leave, and also the appointment of Mr. David Levy as acting CEO during that period of leave.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Davies, do you want to talk on it?
That would be a great job. Good choice.
I have a second, please. Councillor Dodd, do you want to speak on it? Is there any speakers for or against? Questions, clarification? No. All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 13 is the corporate community reports, finance and business, marine and maintenance funds transfer. Over to you, David, and Bonnie's not here as yet.
Thanks, Brad. These are the year-end transfers that are required through the Marine and Maintenance Fund. The report is fairly comprehensive, and the attachments gives the breakdown. So unless there's any questions, take it.
Any clarifying questions on that, Colin? Can I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Ritchie, do you want to speak on that?
No.
Can I have a second then, please? Councillor Staunton, would you like to speak on that? Any speakers for or against? No? All those in favour? Motion carried. That's very good, David.
Can we just clarify, and this is possibly as a result of changes to the format there, Brad? We've got two recommendations on that page as well, so I just want to clarify if that was moved and seconded on block, or...
So that was on the first recommendation.
Okay, so we'll look at the second recommendation now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So can I have a move for the second recommendation, please? Councillor Davies, sorry, Davis, I apologise. And Councillor Dodd. And
Straightforward.
yep. Okay. All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. So I'm getting used to this new format, by the way. So item 13.1.2, draft annual business plan. Over to you again, David, on that one.
Thanks, Brad. So this is the consultation report in terms of the Local Government Act, section 123. Council is required to go out to consultation regarding its annual business plan. The consultation period ran from the 20th of May to the 11th of June. We had a drop-in centre that was open from the 31st of May to the 10th of June. We then held a special council meeting on the 15th of June where 2 verbal submissions were presented to the councillors. It was our first consultation where we set up our engagement hub, Your Say Engagement Hub. Through that, 15 submissions were received and 1 letter was dropped off, all of which were included in the attachments. This went to the councillors. Will note later on the agenda, there's the audit and risk committee minutes, and you'll note in the minutes, this report was presented to the Audit and Risk Committee to make sure the Audit and Risk Committee was satisfied that the process met the requirements under the Act, and they made a recommendation that Council adopt the annual business plan community consultation report.
Okay, any clarifying questions for David? Can I have a mover for the first part of the recommendation, please? Councillor Storm, do you want to speak on it? No. Second, Councillor Rouse, do you want to speak on it?
No, it was so well put out, thank you, I totally understood it was good to summarise. Thank you, I appreciate it, what was presented.
And any clarification, no, or against? All those in favour? Motion carried. Now, that was only the first part, I split it, so again, we go for the second part there. Can I have a,
One more recommendation.
yeah, it's probably easier, I think.
It's got number 1 and 2.
1 and 2 is one recommendation.
Yeah, look, so you're happy to have moved, yep, okay. So you're okay for that, yep.
Fire, we're getting there. Item 13.1.3 is the Port Lincoln Table Tennis Association lease. The corporate and community area, David, over to you.
Thanks, Brad, and Dominic's here for any questions that councillors may have. Again, it's pretty straightforward. It's in the report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Through you, Mayor Brad.
Yes.
Just a question on the public liability insurance to increase from 10 million to 20 million. Is there a reason why it has to be increased? That amount?
Through using Brad, 20 million seems to be the norm and the standard. 10 million was probably 5 or so years ago, but I think if you look at most commercial leases or lease arrangements where there's a liability issue, 20 million is what I would accept as. I understand that with volunteer and sporting organisations, there's an adjustment in their premium, but if you go back 10 or 15 years ago, it was 2 million. So we've come away. So I think 20 million is the standard.
Yeah. State government's based now is they're asking for 20 million on public liability and what they're after. So. Any other questions?
Question through you, Matt Brad, about the no right of renewal clause. We know that there's been the work on the car park and the curbing and that sort of thing that's happened for a council in partnership. So is that normal for that lease that then would come back again in 5 years rather than have a rollover? Is that the reason why there's no right?
Well, if we want to roll over, we'll have to go to public
consultation.
Oh, okay, that's why. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other clarifying questions for Don? Yes, Peter? No. Okay, can I have a mover, please?
For both recommendations 1 and 2, thanks.
Yes, this is for 1 and 2. Councillor Broadfoot, do you want to speak on that?
Thank you.
No. Councillor Davis?
Alright.
Move it. Second? Yep, okay. Is there any speakers for or against? No, all those in favour? Motion carried. Item 13.1.4 is the joint use agreement of Centenary Oval and the car park at Port Lincoln Junior Primary School. So that one is over to you again.
And thanks, Brad. I'm sure council will be quite happy with finally getting some resolution to this.
Yes.
Again, Dom's put all the hard yards in if there's any questions.
Councillor Davis.
I'd like to move this and thank you.
Can I move it?
I'd like to.
Yep, okay. Can I have a second for that, please? Deputy Mayor Ritchie. You want to speak on it, Jack? Okay. All right, is there any?
I have a question. Can I ask if with Port Lincoln High School, is there something like this to be set up with Port Lincoln High School as well?
Through me, Brad, as far as I'm aware, no. This was purely something that happened or started 2014 with regards to the Port Lincoln Junior Primary, and so no with the high school. I don't have any projects.
The high school actually do utilise those grounds on an ad hoc basis, particularly since they no longer have goalposts. And also too, with the limited parking now for students up on the Fort William High School site, is that I would encourage consideration, and that consideration be given to a similar agreement in the future. So it's just a side comment.
Through you, Mayor Brad. So just to clarify, the question was, can a similar agreement be established? Not is there a similar agreement? So I guess there's certainly the opportunity for that.
Yes, it's for discussion to take place in relation.
And just noting that we've got a motion's been moved, so I will just also comment that we've had a meeting recently with the Governing Council, and car parking was discussed as part of that Governing Council meeting. So there is some ongoing discussions with Fort William High School around car parking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other statements for or against?
Just a clarifying question to John. If they drop off the school kids and pick up in Centenary Oval, does the school actually monitor that activity, or is it just left to parents?
Through you, Mayor Brad, no, I believe it's just split.
Okay,
Another question then I have is, what is our liability as people enter and know that they're crossing over traffic off of Park Terrace into the gates there at Centennial?
Through you, Mayor Brad, liability with respect to council.
Yes, entering through there.
If you look at, there's clause 13, releasing indemnities.
Yeah.
Basically, council doesn't have a liability.
So through you, Mayor Brad, just to clarify, so the conversations that we had with the Governing Council, and we've met with a number of the schools in relation to car parking, but also traffic management matters. One of the processes that we're instigating is work with the Way to Go program, which is the Department of Transport program, and that's now being promoted within the 3 schools. Feedback the process come through. Part of that process is that the Way to Go program will provide traffic engineer to work with the schools to assess traffic implications in and around the school areas. And there's been a number of items that have been raised through those discussions in relation to car parking overflow into Centenary Oval, the entrance and exit out of Centenary Oval, and also the shared bus parking zone, which is in the proximity of the primary school there as well. So there's some active conversations in that regard. In terms of the liability, once we get into those leased areas, the liability was set with the lessee. Ultimately, the council has a liability for anything that occurs in a public roadway or road reserve. But that's part of our standard process in the area. But I guess the takeaway message is there's some active conversations going on with primary, the junior primary, the high school around traffic management.
any speakers for or against?
I'll just speak for it. Thanks Dom for the work that you're doing, and love the way we come out without liability, and that's really well worded, and it's also putting that responsibility onto the Minister for Education. So all the way to the top. So thank you for that. That's good.
Any other speakers for or against? All those in favour? All those against? Motion carried. Thank you. So item 13.2, people, governance and communication, there is nil. Item 13.3 is the community culture and recreation. The Adelaide Lightning pre-season visit proposal. Over to David. I don't think
Yes, thanks, Mayor Brad. So we've been approached by Port Lincoln Basketball Association, and they are trying to set up for the Adelaide Lightning basketball team to come over, 4-day event, and hold a number of training sessions and exhibition matches and so on. It's all in the report, and again, pretty comprehensive report, and the attachments detail all the anticipated events to take place. An estimated total cost of 25,000. We've been approached for a contribution of 5,000, and we're also suggesting that we also put in some in-kind support in the form of some staff resources and to assist with some of the staging of the events. We are happy to bring this to council on the basis that Tikwa Autosprint have advised council that they will not be holding the event, and so we will not be releasing their funds that have been allocated to the community grant funding program. So we can use the offset, so there's no impact, negative impact as far as the budget implications are concerned. And we think this would be a great event to support a lot of different boxes being ticked.
Just to clarify, Brad, when David mentions that we won't be releasing the funds, that was actually at the request of Teakle Autosprint. So they wrote to us and said they won't require the funds, and because the event's not occurring this year. So we're not withholding the funds. They've actually said they don't need the funds due to the occurrence of the event, and then that was within a week of then receiving the request from the Port Lincoln Basketball Association. So the two just seem to be timed quite well.
So the recommendation is obviously to provide the $5,000 in cash, but also just that we need formal confirmation. Obviously, we won't release the funds until we have formal confirmation, but we're also advising them that it needs to be finalised within the next week, because this is forming part of the 2021 budget, not 21-22 budget. Otherwise, there is an impact. And so basketball is aware of that, and I think it is my understanding it has more or less been confirmed, but we need formal notification from them, and on that basis, funds will be released in the next week.
You have a clarifying question?
No, I'd like to pass, move that
So
recommendation.
do you like to move it? Do you want to speak on it, Lynn?
Thanks for making that really clear, and that's just wonderful how it's all just blended in and still in the community funding bucket and going back to community. So just seems to have
Work well.
been made to work, hasn't it?
Okay, thanks. Can I have a second for that, please? Councillor Rousseau, would you like to speak on it, Robin?
Well, I just think it's a wonderful thing to support. It's another sport, basketball certainly growing here, and it's another way to showcase the leisure centre as well as Port Lincoln and fill the hotel rooms. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, is there any speakers for or against, or further questions?
Just a question. I understand where David's coming from with his requirement to meet with an answer by 30th of June 21, but purely it's here or there for community funding, whether it's this year or next year. It's where the council supports the event. So I think you're hamstringing yourself a little bit by giving them a week to answer, just for the sake of slotting it into this financial year. I actually think it'd be better if you left that contingency off, the 30th of June 21, just once confirmation is received, they get their funding.
So you're putting forward an amendment?
Well, that's the.
Or you just want to have a look at the recommendation?
I think David knows what he's doing with his financial numbers, and I'm thinking he's done it for a reason, to make it work for what he's doing. So I can't see it being an issue either way.
To provide some context, we're confident that we'll have some confirmed dates before the 30th of June. So the discussions have occurred quite quickly. So I've been involved in those discussions with the PLBA and also Helena and Naomi, like from a tourism perspective. So we're confident that we'll have confirmed dates or confirmation.
Okay, so the motion's been put forward in the second, and is there any statements for or against? Questions? All those in favour? Motion carried. Thanks. Item 14 is the environment and infrastructure reports. 14.1 infrastructure and assets nil. 14.2 development services, the Eyre Peninsula Regional Assessment Panel, meeting on the 15th of June. There's a recommendation there from JP. You're going to have a talk on that?
Mayor Brad, it's just tabling the meeting minutes that occurred on that date, and nothing really to add to that, just for council to adopt the minutes.
Thank you. Any clarification, questions? So move it, please. Councillor Staunton, you want to speak on it? No, not a second. Deputy Mayor Jack, do you want to speak on it, Jack? No. No. Okay. Speakers for and against? Yep. All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, JP. Item 14.2.2 is the Lincoln Cove East Development, the Environment and Infrastructure. Over to you, JP, again.
Thank you, Mayor Brad. Through the chair, this one is a petition we received, and with all petitions following the appropriate regulations and as well as our internal policies, needs to be chaired at the next council meeting. I assume the petition and the report has been read, but in a nutshell, if I can just highlight some of the key points in the report. The petition was signed by 72 people that raise some concern around the potential fire hazard on a particular part of the development. We have conducted a fire investigation, or what we also call a bushfire attack assessment, which is a prescribed type of assessment that they do to ensure that the asset protection zone, which is legislatively around 5 meters, is being met. This one actually has 10 meters and so forth. So I'm comfortable with where it is in terms of a fire hazard, and we've had continuous inspections done since that original assessment, with additional assessment from our own internal resources that has determined that there has no additional fuel been added to the particular area, nor has the area been breached, or that protection buffer is still the same. I think in terms of the resolution on this to push things forward, we are working very closely with the developer to actually get that parcel of land sorted and rectified and actually put together as a reserve, as it has been intended. So recommendations with the report is that we will continue to look into and assess the fire hazards and potential other hazards as well on a periodic basis, and continue to work with the developer to get a speedy resolution on that particular parcel of land and that development.
So, Councillor Davis.
Through you, Member and JP, I'm just wondering, it states in your report that there's nothing that would prevent the developer from applying for an additional extension of time when current approvals lapse. Can you give an indication as to when those approvals lapse, and what is that length of time that they could potentially apply for?
So they can request it, but it's up to council to actually approve the length of time that we are comfortable with. At the moment, it's September 21, the date for that.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Davies.
Through you, Mayor Brad. JP, there was also off the fires, but you said other issues as well. There was also sand issues out there, and people were having their cars covered with sand and stuff. Is that being addressed in the same?
It has been looked at. So one of the things what would we do if we just go in and clean it out, like just get things and start pulling things out? But there's issues around the dust and other people that raise issues around potential allergies that could get triggered and that sort of stuff, and the dust is definitely an issue. So I think in terms of a resolution and to deal with this problem, we have to look at that. The Band-Aid solutions isn't really going to fix this problem. It's about help working with the developer to get that land developed and
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I think there was something to do with they wanted, don't quote me on the exact wording, but heshing on the fencing to keep the sand out of the carports and off the cars, because it was actually going into their carports.
Yep. We did not do any costings or look into what that potentially could mean, but however, I'm happy to take that on notice and come back if needed.
Yeah, no, it's all sort of being addressed though.
It's being addressed, absolutely.
Okay, is there any other clarifying questions? No? Can I have a mover for recommendation, please? Councillor Storr, do you want to speak on that?
My concern would be a further extension, but place that if it comes.
Yeah. And Deputy Mayor Jack, second. So just for the sake of the gallery, Council notes and receives a petition by Dylan Bell on behalf of the residents of Port Lincoln, City of Port Lincoln, and you will be advised that we will continue to keep a watchful brief. So, all those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, JP.
Just to clarify, Mayor Brad, as well, so there will be an active watching brief, not just in the interests of the petitioners and the residents out there, but also from council from a budgetary perspective. because council does have funds allocated in the draft budget for its contribution towards the reserve, but also some linked infrastructure for the Purple Pipe network. So there's more emphasis to make sure that the developers do what they need to do with that reserve, above and beyond the concerns of the residents. So it's very much on the radar.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. Thank you. Item 14.3 is environment and community safety. There is none. Item 14.4, major projects. 14.4.1 is the Foreshore Redevelopment Community Consultation Report. JP, do you want to talk on that?
I'm not down this one.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, Brad, I'll just quickly introduce this one. So we had the 2 concurrent consultation processes running, and I'll take this because JP sort of commenced during the very start of this consultation process of this project. So we had the two concurrent consultation processes running, one for the annual business plan and budget 21-22, and we also had this process running for the final consultation on the concept stage of the Foreshore redevelopment plan. So as you can see in the report, the Your Say portal was used as the first time for both projects. And you can see summarised in there the responses specifically for the Foreshore project itself. And as you can see, the 2-week community drop-in centre was well patronised, over 540 people coming through the drop-in centre in that 2-week period. And we didn't have a counter in there to determine the average amount of time spent. But if I had to estimate the average amount of time that each person spent in the centre, I would suggest it would be somewhere between 7 and 11 minutes in terms of the amount of time that people spent in there talking to staff, elected members, and then viewing plans. So now I would also hazard a guess that 90% of the people that went into the drop-in centre, and this is unquantifiable, unverifiable statistics, would have been more interested in the Foreshore project than they were in the actual annual business plan itself. Sorry, David, to say that. But I do just reiterate a point I made at the special meeting earlier this week, because I have heard some commentary around that people were turned away from the drop-in centre while there were school groups and presentations going on in there, and that's simply not the case. So as you can see from the report, there was over 140 school children from various different schools that came into the drop-in centre, and the key element of the consultation process in relation to the Foreshore project this round was looking at 2 key components of the concept plan, but also providing the option for people to provide commentary or feedback on any other element of the concept plan that they liked. So the 2 key components were the parking configuration in the immediate vicinity of the jetty, looking at parallel versus existing lane options. And then the second key component was looking at whether or not there's a sun deck and a walkway as a feature to mask the public toilets, or whether or not we just look at effectively minor visual enhancements to the public toilets just to make them blend in a little bit more. And you can see the results of the public opinion survey in that regard. So again, elected members, the report tonight is just to acknowledge the feedback process that we've been through and the feedback that we've received. And the elected members, in the agenda, there's the full copy of the written survey responses. So the survey through Your Say had 3 components. It was the option A and option B for the car parking, option A, option B for the toilet block. And then there was a free text component. So we've pulled out all the free text components and provided that as an attachment to the agenda report. And we've also got written submissions that were submitted via the Your Say format, or in writing or via email, which have been collated into one document as well. And again, we're first time using the portal, we're just working through the process. And I guess what we've tried to do with the written submissions is to give some sort of context around whether they're a substantive submission or a minor submission. And the reason why we're trying to provide some qualification around that is that being a written submission Dropbox effectively on the portal, people were able to submit their feedback, and some of the feedback may have been 1 or 2 lines, whereas other people have provided paragraphs of feedback through the process. So we've just tried to, or even attached feedback. So we've just tried to delineate between those who provide 1 or 2 lines as a comment, more so in a submission, and those who have actually provided more substantive submission on that. So happy to take questions on that, but otherwise all the information is there for you to receive.
Any clarifying questions, Peter?
I'm happy to work.
Want to speak on it at all?
Just apart from having the best sausages in town served by Peter, it's free sausage, free sale. There was a really good feeling about people coming on, about to come in and have a look and see all the information that was there. So I think it's a great process.
Have a second, please. Deputy Mayor Ritchie, do you want to speak on that?
I'm going to second that, and also agree with Councillor Levin, and the session worked really well. And good response. People got a lot out of it. So, yeah, great work.
Okay, so any speakers for or against? Councillor Storm?
Question?
Yeah, you've got a question first. I'll come back to you then. Councillor
No,
Storm?
yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, me?
Yeah, question.
It just says in the, I've just noticed in all of the agenda items, there's a community consultation. So it says that community consultation is one factor that influences decision making. Can I ask, what are the other factors that will be influencing this decision making?
Through you there, Brad. So with the format of the reports, there's effectively a 3-page format to the reports now. So the first page, the new format, is effectively the summary and the recommendation. The second page is the decision-making influences for the report. So they've been in all of the reports that council's received over the last several years, and they're the factors that come into play when councils make decisions. So that's the council role, the strategic alignment, the annual business plan and budget, policy guidelines, legislative considerations, risk considerations, and the community consultation. In regard to this particular report, it is purely a process of receiving the feedback through the consultation process, and noting that it's been done in accordance with the policies. But if you look at the second page of the report structure, there's 6 or 7 items there. They are all the key decision-making influences when you consider it in the report.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Storm?
I was just saying, great consultation process. The report is very thorough. It's good to see all the feedback provided to us for reading. Interesting that the feedback is quite divisive. So yeah, that's part of the influences for our decision making, but it does make it a challenge for the council, given seeing the opposing opinions of quite a number of things. But in regards to the receiving the report,
Thanks, Councillor Dodd.
Yeah, just like to second some of the comments. I think it's been a brilliant consultation process. Everyone's had more than ample opportunity to use their opinion or pen to paper. But the other good part is that all the responses are available to the community via the website. So you can sit down and have a good look for yourself what the community thinks. I think it's an excellent outcome.
Any other statements for or against? Okay, all those in favour? Motion carried. Item 15 is council.
I just want to thank Ed and recognise his hard work through the project and all the effort he's made. Tonight was his last council meeting, and he was leaving us on Thursday, but I just wanted to note all the effort made by this young man over here, and just wanted to thank him and that noted.
Yeah, I hear you.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
So, item 15, council committee reports and minutes. The minutes, item 15.1, minutes of the audit and risk committee meeting held on Thursday, the 17th of June. Is there any clarifying questions on that at all? It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Can I have a mover then, please? Councillor Dodd, do you want to speak on it, Jeff? Can I have a second, please? Councillor Jolly, do you want to speak on it, Peter?
No, it's a good record.
Yeah. Any speakers for or against? All those in favour? Motion carried, thank you. I must make a comment that I'm pleased that our audit committee and risk committee is going through all those key areas, and certainly makes me feel much more comfortable from a due diligence perspective. Item 16, confidential reports. This is the appointment of the external auditor. So in this particular case here, this is a recommendation to go into confidence. David, you don't want to talk about it?
We'll go to confidence first.
Yeah, okay, we'll go. No, I mean, that's, yeah, so can I have a mover to go into confidence, please? Peter, do you want to speak? Yeah, second, Councillor Broadfoot. All those in favour? Okay, we're now going into confidence, so that means the gallery will have to.
Hang on, just to clarify, sorry, Mayor Bird. So the question was whether or not we would require the property facilities officer here.
For the second.
Yep. Yep. Is it your recommendation that we require Dom here?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So just Mayor Brad. So who moved the second of the motion?
Councillor Jolly and me.
Okay. So just to clarify, you're happy to include property facilities officer?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, so I'll request the gallery to depart. Thank you very much. We're going into confidence.